目覚めてみればなんだこの世界はもの不動
I am constantly on the lookout for new games to add to my arsenal of rhythm games. As vigilant as I am when looking into these games, I still find that a few fall under my radar. Bakumatsu Rock was one of these games for a long time. Despite the fact that it's a rhythm game that is on both PSP and Vita, I hadn't heard about it until it was mentioned in passing by someone I talked to online. Videos about the game were sparse, despite the game not looking that bad. I couldn't wrap my head around why no one seemed to talk about this game when mentioning portable rhythm games. Other games like Diva and IAVT get mentioned all the time. Why not this one? The only way I was going to get my answer to this question is by ordering it and playing it for myself. There were two versions of the game released, the regular Bakumatsu Rock for PSP, and the Ultra Soul Edition, the one I played, which featured a handful of new songs and a new after story. After finally receiving the game after a few weeks, I dug into it. I got so deep into this game that I actually earned the Platinum Trophy within 3 days of getting the game. I have spent far more time than I'd like to admit getting a full combo on every single song in the game, and I think it goes without saying that I enjoyed it thoroughly. But that only confused me more. I know my tastes in rhythm games aren't exactly standard, but this was a solid rhythm game. I couldn't even find a well-made guide online to read the trophy info, outside of one which most likely had it out of obligation. This game had nearly no discussion about it, but why? Before I dive any deeper into this question though, I think it's important to get my thoughts on the game out. Right away, I had issues with the menus. They seem to not be able to keep a consistent control scheme for them. X and circle do the opposites of what you'd expect for an import game. X select and circle cancels. The Vita menus are normal for import games. So to save, it often required reversing my inputs on the fly to have circle select and X cancel. And once you try to start a song, the inputs reverse as well, meaning it's really easy to select a song and then go back to the menus entirely on accident. It's a minor gripe, but it bothered me for my entire playthrough, so it's worth mentioning in this review. Moving on to the game's actual substance. The song list is oddly short, only 27 songs in the game, with a good chunk of them being repeats. This is slightly more forgivable than when Persona 4 Dancing did that, because nearly every song in this list was composed, performed, and recorded specifically for this game, and nearly every song in it was great. I never thought I'd love J-Rock this much, yet here I am. This game's music videos are also really well done, opting for a more 2D PV style rather than 3D models or dance videos like many other rhythm games out in this same vein. The style is very reminiscent of how the higher produced Vocaloid videos were done back during the early days of the fanbase. If there were one gripe I had with the songs, it's that they're all too short. Normally about 2 minutes long each, and I really wish they were longer, but that's only due to their high quality in the first place, so they're great as is. There is a story mode, but I can't read it, and I can't really judge it. However, more on that later. But the gameplay is where this game truly shines. I can't even really come up with words to describe what I love about the gameplay. It's experimental, challenging, it constantly tries new input patterns and is constantly coming up with new ways to display its notes and trick the player. And it rarely ever spits out something that feels completely impossible, with the exception of Ride on the Wave. That song can go fuck itself. The notes start at the top of the screen and flow down, and you have to hit them as they cross the line. When the notes are hit, the lyrics appear on the line, and honestly, if I could read them, they might become distracting, but I can't, so who cares? This game's note patterns are really interesting to follow, especially because of how they're presented. Take this moment from God Breath. The inputs are actually deceptively simple, but because of how they're laid out, they feel great to actually hit and make the game that much more enjoyable. And then they take basically the same section, shuffle it up with a few new inputs, and show it as something completely new with a new presentation in the mixed color version of the song. It's excellent game design like this that made me want to challenge myself to get all the perfects in the game. This is one of the same principles that makes Project Eva as fun as it is. Your brain makes order out of the chaos that is presented to you on the screen, almost subconsciously, leaving the player satisfied when they have the ability to hit complicated strings of inputs. In addition, this method of showing notes keeps the player's eyes following their pattern around the screen. No moments of panic after losing track in games like Persona 4 Dancing, and yet more interesting to keep track of than games like Make Point the Music due to the chaotic nature of their presentation. This method of presenting notes is exactly why I call this game experimental. None of the individual inputs are actually all too complex, but because of the way that they're presented, the game becomes much more difficult and much more engaging to the player. Of course, this game isn't all sunshine and rainbows. There are some songs that aren't handled so well. Right on the Wave is a mess that I, to this day, don't really fully understand. There are some sections of songs that hitting honestly just felt like an accident. And also, this game doesn't do three very important things that rhythm games must do in order to be considered excellent in my book. Number 1. This game does not punish wrong inputs. There is simply nothing stopping the player from literally mashing buttons and getting a full combo. It almost cheapens the idea of getting them to begin with, considering great maps like God Breath, which feel great to get by skill alone, can also be gotten by mashing buttons. Though this problem is only possible due to Number 2. This game does not punish poor timing. There is no equivalent of safe in this game. You could hit the button right before the note disappears off of the screen forever, and still manage to continue your combo. This is a mistake that I noticed in Marvelous's other game, but I'll get to that one much later. For now, Number 3. You can't fail songs. When you are missing notes, the only thing that happens is that chains appear on the screen over the video. That's it. No health bar, no dropout screen, no slaps on the wrist for literally setting the controller down. This goes a long way to remove the player's interests in fucking up almost entirely. These are all pretty major flaws, adding in the fact that there is no retry button and the game doesn't keep track of perfect combos. I get mixed messages as to whether or not I should care about getting full combos, and that's a deal breaker for me. I love being able to show off screens full of perfects, and this game does not allow me to do that. Honestly, even with its missteps, the game is still pretty damn good. But those missteps are an okay compromise to get a game that experiments in the way that this one does. But this still left me with one burning question. Why did this game not take off? It has good music, solid gameplay, and a cast of characters that I liked the designs of. So what happened? I'll tell you what fucking happened. Bakumatsu Rock Samurai Jam happened. Remember how I said I couldn't read the story? As it turns out, that was a good thing. Because it's awful. Samurai Jam was the anime adaptation of the game, and it was the absolute worst 6 hours of complete horseshit I have ever sat through in my entire life. The show had barely any plot, obnoxious and horrible characters, bad CG, and it really only played like 2 of the fucking songs in the entire song list. I thought I was going to fucking lose it if I heard Rolling Thunder another goddamn time. I am convinced that this anime killed any franchise potential that Bakumatsu Rock had. And yet another kick in the crotch to me as far as this anime goes is the exclusion of the afterstory introduced in Ultra Sun. This afterstory could have saved the entire show. The afterstory features a brand new antagonist, Matthew Perry Jr. This man is an American looking to conquer the planet using rock and roll. He dresses in a loose-fitting shirt, bra, fishnet leggings, high-heeled boots, and instead of pants, he's wrapped an American flag around his waist. He refers to himself as God and has a lackey that follows him around who only speaks in guitar riffs. I would have watched another season of the show just to watch this character in action, yet he was excluded, minus a tiny cameo at the end. It's simply not fair that a great rhythm game like this, with so much potential, was destroyed in an instant by such a terrible show. Buy Bakumatsu Rock. It's an excellent rhythm game that will give you a good week's worth of entertainment for its fairly low price tag. Just kidding, this game's gay.